Welcome to Founders Marketing Compass. My name is Etgar Shpivak. With my experience as a co-founder and as a marketing, I'm interviewing founders, executives, investors to learn how to build healthy, lasting relationships between executives to their marketing teams. Today, I'm hosting Didi Azaria, the CEO of Workiz, a business in a box for HVACs and electricians. Hi, Didi. How are you?
Hi there, Edgar. How are you today?
A pleasure to meet you again. Before we dive into our questions, maybe if you can tell me a bit about yourself and about your journey in Workiz.
I'm a serial entrepreneur, I would say. All of my life, I'm inventing things, uh, creating and failing with startups, with some of them. I co-founded one of the successful startups in the BI industry, which called Sisense. This was many years ago in 2005. And the last 6 years, I'm running a company called Workiz, which, as you mentioned, is a business in a box for HVAC and electricians in North America, basically giving them every tool possible to run their operations from marketing down to payments. Other than that, I'm a very technical person, but I'm doing quite better, I guess, in the business world versus the technical world.
So you coming from this technical background and then you have all the responsibility to manage all the departments. And the first question is, how do you define the KPI for your marketing team?
During my career, I'm more attracted to the technical aspect of everything, and so also for marketing. Like I love attribution, I love multi-attribution, I love pixels, I love all these things that going behind the scenes. While the most important things is the creative and the testing and everything that comes with it. Marketing eventually is the growth engine, is the ability to get a distribution for your product, and therefore one of the most important departments in any company. What I see is the most important KPIs for marketing is first ROAS. So how many dollars we brought per dollar that we invest directly in any marketing initiative. This would be the first one. The second one, and again, we're running a B2B company with sales teams. The second one would be pipeline generated. These two are working very well together, helping marketing to bring only quality leads that also converts.
How did you see those KPIs evolve through the different stages of the company?
We started as just asking the team to get us leads, right? It's like every company makes the same mistake over and over again. Later, I tried to identify what's our ICP. We got to 1,000 customers, give or take, and we did those famous cohorts, right? We want to understand which type of businesses you're selling to. In our case, it was industries. Right now, it's more, I guess, complex or more sophisticated, but we started as industries, cleaning, HVAC, electrician, plumbing, and we tried to realize what's the cost per lead, what's the cost per MQL, SQL, and eventually what is the payback period for each of those. Once we identify the ones that are great and the ones that are big no-no, we tried to take the give me more leads to give me more SQLs or MQLs in this case, again, according to the cohorts that we established. So if the payback period is great and there is a scale over there, great. That can be an MQL. Anything other than that should go out of the funnel and obviously make everything else more expensive. So an MQL that is actually open today is much more expensive than last year. However, it's super specific to the ICP that we're selling.
How do you balance the short term, give me ROAS, give me this MQL, with this very long-term vision that you have to sell to the board? How do you communicate this internally to the marketing team or to other teams?
But that really depends on the sales cycle. If your sales cycle is, I don't know, 3-4 months, it's almost impossible to communicate short and long term. In our case, our sales cycle is pretty short. So say months, you already see the results. So any trailing 30 days will do the trick. But as a recommendation in general to the board, to any CEO, any leader that needs to communicate to the board long and short term, it's all about investment. But I'm investing into the future, but you do need to prove it. So you can use this excuse probably once or twice, but that's it. And once you really believe that the long term works well for you, you need to bring results and you need to bring them quick enough, even in enterprise sales.
And how do you measure everything? What are your best practices to come and to say, I like this measurement or I don't like it?
So as a company that sells over the web a SaaS software, we have many KPIs, as you can imagine. We do use OKRs, like the famous Andy from Intel started many years ago. But we try to be very specific with those KPIs or OKRs. Our main goal is to bring healthy cohorts to work with us, to be our customers for long years. Without doing that, without focusing on that, we basically put garbage in and garbage out. If you're my customer, you're not garbage, it's just a term, figure of speech. But in general, once we bring a client, we really want them to be successful with us. Success is measured, from my perspective, by only one thing, which is NDR. If the business grows with you, you're going to see an impact in the NDR. NDR should be measured on almost every vector possible, whether it's your ICP or not your ICP, your segment. And segments can be anything from smaller businesses, larger businesses, Canada versus USA, and so on and so forth. There can be infinite amount of segments. And once the NDR is positive, you need to benchmark yourself versus who you're selling to. SMB usually will have great result, anything between 110 to 130% year over year, where enterprise can be way over 150%. Anytime you see a cohort that applied these characteristics, in this case 110 NDR and up, you should double down on it. Anything that is below 100%, you should ditch immediately. And the main reason is very simple. It might work right now and it might grow very well right now, but at $100 million, that's a whole different ballgame. Any 10% loss in $100 million means that you just lost $10 million, which you need to bring on top of your growth anyway. And this is a huge burden on the company at scale.
And we talk about this measurement, and do you have any way that you look for incrementality? Because you're already not a small company and people will come to you organically. How do you measure this is a real new ARR, MRR, versus this is someone that already just needed this push to sign up?
In today's world, specifically after all the security and the bigger companies are trying to hide the data from us as much as possible, there is a lot of gray area, what we call the dark path. So my question will be, it depends. We're not always knowing. We really depend on asking the customers on sign up or on conversion. How do they hear about us? If they're returning customer or new customers, and you're coming from marketing, and you know that marketing and psychology are well attached. They are very related. People find it very hard to tell a lie versus the truth. So we assume that in most cases they are telling us the truth. Therefore, we know how much of our funnels are new and how much are returning in any way. Now, returning comes in various different ways. It can be a user of the system. It doesn't have to be the owner who bought it. And then they coming back. Is it a returning customer or is it a new customer? We're counting them as new because every new business that is forming, that's a new customer from our perspective. And every business that basically left us and coming back, this is a returning customer.
Market research shows that building a brand is crucial for long-term success. On the other hand, many startups focus on their goals until the end of their runways. When did you come and say, yes, we need to start invest in our brand, and we know we will see the results only a year from now, 2 years from now? We know this is not going into these raw calculations.
So in today's world, specifically the last 2 years, I guess, building a brand for a startup is not a good strategy. You're going to be out of your runway before you're going to be any brand. My recommendation would be to find the smallest segment possible you can lead, and that's where you build your brand. And again, in our case, it was a few years ago, it was junk removal, and we led this, we're still leading it, but we focused on this segment because nobody else wanted to sell to them. We managed to find a niche that is very profitable for us. We found influencers in that market. We found good lead generation, platforms for these kind of businesses. And we managed to be a brand in the field, in the junk removal world. And the fact that we're selling to 40 different segments doesn't really matter. We wanted to win just this segment. And once you apply the same tactics into different segmentation, it usually works as a playbook, but you need to rule the playbook. You need to make sure that the playbook works well. And once you're done with the playbook, you have some sort of a plateau, because once you stop with the playbook and you see a decrease in sales or anything like that, it probably wasn't the right thing to do.
What is the one mistake that founders and executives commonly make when they're working with their marketing teams?
The one thing that I see, and I'm investing in many startups and I'm mentoring many startups. So again, it's not a one occasion, is that the leader will get too involved. Many of them think that they know marketing much better than their marketing leader. And instead of giving the marketing leader KPIs like ROAS, etc., they're giving them very specific instructions like, oh, we must do community, we must do webinars, we must do, and so on and so forth. And even worse, they're getting involved with the actual content in that scenario, under the belief that if you bring a marketing leader, you brought them to bring the tofu to you, to be very creative in their own domain. And if they need help, they need to ask for it. If you're getting too much involved, you probably don't need them, and you need a director, just a group manager, like a growth manager, to apply whatever your ideas are. And I don't. I'm guilty in doing that from time to time too, but my marketing leaders knows it very well. I'm very transparent about it. Not all my ideas are great. Feel free to do nothing that I'm suggesting. Obviously, we all have an opinion. It's like that, but I'm very, very open about it.
What are the top three qualities that you look for when you hire your marketing leadership?
So I had, in my lifetime, I had like 10 or 15 of them. So I know all the characteristics, and all of them were amazing persona. However, not everybody are a good fit for the stage that you are. A marketing leader must have the right attitude to the market that you're selling to. So you cannot bring a B2B enterprise to do B2B SMB. And so also you cannot bring somebody to do B2C and try to sell to B2B. It's just not the same mindset in so many ways. You need to figure out if they're resilient enough. In a market where there is big competition, you will hear every day and every night complaints from customers about pricing, about why this product does that and not doing that. And resilience is key in that. They need to build their own, I guess, strategy towards how to bring the company to a higher scale. And these kind of strategies can take a long time. I mean, in some cases, years. And you need to be very patient. And they need to make sure that you're not, that the company does not lose its height. So, okay, we have goals. Great. Now, how do we implement them? There are many ways to do it via marketing. And if the marketing leader will change their mind because of, I don't know, any kind of crazy company idea, and will not invest enough time in a channel, they will never, ever figure it out. In our case, it took like 5 years with one of the channels. And finally, we figured it out. Now, how do we know that we figured it out? Because if I would like to add $1 million right now to my marketing engine in this channel, I can do it tomorrow morning. This is something I could not do for many, many years. And that's, I guess, the real magic. But other than that, they need to have again, like any other management member, they need to have a good fit, cultural fit to the other management member, because any leader in the company have two jobs. One of them is to lead their department. The other one is to be part of a team. If they can be that person, it is obviously the right person to have.
What is the most surprising lesson that you learned as a founder or as an investor?
The product doesn't matter at all. It's all about how you sell it, how you wrap it, and how you execute towards your goal. It's never about your product. Doesn't matter what you say.
Sure that some of the chief product that listening to this podcast won't agree with you, but it can be a very interesting discussions.
They involved. They should be involved in that. I'm a big fan of product. However, if product is trying to go towards a goal that the company will never be able to achieve, and I'll give you an example. It happens everywhere. We have a great idea to add an AI component to our great software. Amazing. Going and implement that day one. While CS, sales, and support, cannot sell it, and cannot try to extend any of it. Product will work and create a great software or feature set, but nobody will use it. And I know that it's not quite how products see things. They are interviewing and doing all the playbooks that products should do. But in most cases, when product is not involved in the execution of the entire, sales process, they are failing the company. They're wasting time and money by creating product that nobody will use.
Talking about this very delicate relationship between the marketing and the sales department, how do you see this balance? As I have seen so many times that the marketing tell the sales, you don't close the leads, and the sales come and say, you don't give me good leads. How do you see it in your perspective as the CEO, as the leader of the company?
So it's always the same challenge. The tension is happening everywhere at every company, and it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful they are. This tension requires constant conversation. It requires what I call the agreement document between sales and marketing to what is a good lead, what counts as a qualified lead. And this document must be revisited every quarter or so without a very clear communication around what is a great lead, what is a bad lead. We will always have this tension. And marketing will never bring better leads to the sales, and sales will always complain. Our goal is to have this as an open conversation, despite the challenges and the, not easy conversations between the team. We found our golden path. As long as this document is being applied in both ends, it creates an environment where people can flourish. You can say that you're not getting great leads, but then again, you created all these SQLs. Why did you create them? Because they are according to this document. And it's also marketing. You brought X amount of leads, but guess what? None of them became an SQL. I guess that you made a mistake in bringing the wrong ICP. Again, constant conversation around the same topic. And remember, a company is evolution. It's always changing. What happened last year should not happen this year. You always need to fine-tune these documents.
What is a common misconception about running a startup that you would like to debunk?
A misconception of running a startup. I think one of the misconceptions is that 90% of the startups are failing. They're not. People are giving up. The startup did not fail. The only way to, have I would call it a success in a single day is to work like 10 years. That's the statistic. And without resilience and being stubborn and having all these kind of challenges along the way, you will not be able to achieve success in a startup. So your startup is not 90% likely to fail. You're 90% likely to give up.
I like it. And what would it be if you could give yourself, your younger self, one advice?
Focus, focus, focus. Do not try to sell to everybody all around the world, in every RCP, in every business size. You need to say more no's than yes. And this is crucial in order to find, as I mentioned, your niche and to rule the niche. You cannot rule the world in one night. I was always amazed about competitors, specifically at Sisense previous. How well do they do while we have a much better software and much better team? And one of the most, hidden differences were their high focus on segments. Like, okay, we're selling only to sports teams. And I said, where is the business here? How many sports teams there are? Well, there are many sports teams just in the US, and they are all very savvy on data and analytics. So Tableau won that field, and so on and so forth. Again, they took this playbook. I wish I knew that 20 years ago.
And for the last question, which question should I ask, but I didn't?
Would you recommend anyone to do this job?
And would you?
Yeah. You need to be crazy. It's a roller coaster that very few can or should experience. I think you know that firsthand.
I'm familiar with this.
It's not always leading to a great success, even though it looks like that from the outside. Again, firsthand experience. And to be honest, it's all about the journey, not the end of the journey. And many people that are coming to get my advice, I'm basically telling them, no, don't do that. You're putting yourself into a very miserable path. If they're still stubborn enough to do that, they're probably doing the right thing. But most of us should not do that. You don't lose your day job. You have a good life. Don't waste it.
Didi, thank you so much. I had a great time, and I think it was a very insightful episode. And looking forward to meeting you when you will be after a huge exit or an IPO, and to see how those a KPI became into a monster.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Edgar.